Hare Krishna. So it's a great honor and privilege to be here amongst all of you this evening. Today's topic is based on glories of Hanumanji, right at the corner of our temple. Hanumanji occupies his position, he is on duty, with his hands folded, ready to serve the Lord. And because this month we celebrated Sri Ram Navami just a week ago, so I was inspired to choose this topic because the Purnima after Navami is Hanumanji's appearance day, which was yesterday. And I celebrated at Ujjain Kumbh Mela, Simhastha Kumbh Mela amongst several lakhs of devotees. So, we are very fortunate that we are getting this opportunity to share some glories of Hanumanji. In the Ramayana, it is described at the end, when Lord Ramchandra is completing his pastimes, at that point he is having a dialogue with Hanumanji. And he is saying, Sneho me paramo rajan, tvai tishtatu nityada, bhaktischa niyata vira, bhavo nanyatra gacchatu. So Hanumanji is offering prayers to Lord Ram when Lord Ram is asking Hanumanji, what do you pray from me? What is your aspiration? We had this terrible battle of Lanka. You were at the forefront of killing millions of Rakshasas. What you did, practically nobody could have done. I'm very pleased with you. I'm ready to offer you anything. I'm extremely pleased with you. I am grateful to you. Just ask. Whatever you ask, I will fulfill. So just imagine Lord Ram is standing in front of you. And then he's making this offer to all of you. Just ask. Whatever you want, just ask. Whatever is bothering you the most right now, just ask. I'll fulfill it. You'll get confused. Why you'll get confused? Because you don't know what to ask. Which one to ask? Because there are so many desires that you're really bewildered. What exactly I'm supposed to ask? How I am going to express this? Right? Should I ask, passing my exam, getting a job, getting a wife, getting a girlfriend, girlfriend se छुटकारा पाना? There could be several varieties. So what exactly are you going to ask? So therefore, we begin with Hanumanji's prayer where he says, I first request you, my dear Lord, please give me Sneho me paramo rajan tvai tishtatu nityada. I pray that I have love and affection at your lotus feet. That is the first aspiration which he is expressing. And then he says, Bhaktischa niyata vira. Second, may I have pure devotional service at your lotus feet, eternally. Bhavo na anyatra gacchatu. Third is, may my feelings towards your lotus feet be so absorbed that I do not get distracted at all by anything or anyone. Total, devoted, absorbed devotional service. Just like when honey flows. You have seen a bottle of honey? And you have poured honey. So when you pour honey, how the honey flows without a break. Like that, may my feelings flow incessantly, flawlessly, continuously at your lotus feet. So then he says, very important point, Yavat Rama Katha Vira Charishyanti Mahitale tavat sharire vatsyantu prana mama na samshaya. Another very important prayer he says, as long as Ram Katha is going on in this world, may I live in this world forever. Yavat Ram Katha Veera Charishyanti Mahitale. As long as the glories of Lord Ram are being sung in this world, I do not have desire to go anywhere. I do not desire liberation. I do not desire to go even to your spiritual abode, because if your glories are being sung, this place becomes the spiritual abode. Yavat Rama Katha Veera Charishyati Mahitale. That is my desire. Tavat Sharire Vashyantu. So in this way, Hanumanji is expressing his aspiration of what a devotee inspired by selfless love expresses to the Lord. So therefore, we have discussed this point before, that love is defined as the power to selflessly serve the beloved without considering any kind of inconveniences. In every relationship, there is some scarcity, impediment, discomfort, and unhappiness. And love is all about serving one's beloved, transcending all of this scarcity, impediment, discomfort, and unhappiness. And just the other day, I was sharing this story of how when our Govinda's restaurant began, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was very much pushing us to have pizzas. Till then, there was no pizza of that type in this property. This was 2004. And when Maharaj said we should have pizzas, till then the only pizza somebody used to make here was a speculated version. It was some bread on which some tomato sauce was poured and some fried bangan was put on top. And that was branded and given Diksha as pizza. It was not the authentic one. So, at least we used to think that is pizza. So I told Maharaj that nobody likes that, the pizza which we are serving out. Maharaj said, which pizza are you talking about? That one which you serve me on the bread? I said, yeah, that's the only one we know. Maharaj said, that's not pizza, that's a perverted reflection of pizza. So then, actually, he brought out from his own suitcase the recipe for pizza. And the cutter, the knife which cuts the pizza into various pieces. And he brought out the artichoke and gave it and said, follow this recipe and the pizza will be famous, successful. I didn't have faith that it's going to be so famous. But it has become famous. Because the name is same, pizza. What we used to make, that was also called pizza. Then what's now being served in Govinda's, that's also called pizza. Name is same, right? But the experience is different. So similarly, Ramayana is talking about love. Bhagavatam is talking about and love. शर्मा रहे हो बोलने क्या? Chaitanya Charitamrita is talking about and Bollywood is talking about so you may think, is it all the same? So therefore, it's very important to understand that the terminology may be the same, but the context and the definition has to be understood. Right? So you go to Bollywood movies, they are also filled with all these songs on Prem, Dil, right? Dil Bekarar, Dil De Diya, Dil Bekar, Dil To Pagal Hai, Tum Bhi Pagal Ho. ये पिक्चर देखने आए So what exactly is the context of this word? So practically, you will find that everyone in the East or in the West, either Bollywood or Hollywood, is growing up seeing movies on love, reading novels on love, discussing about love, searching for love, gaining love, losing love. And then they come to Bhagavatam and they see that, oh, Krishna is in love with the gopis. And one boy was asking me, why Krishna has so many girlfriends? I said, that is not your main problem. I said to him, your main problem is why you don't have even one. So therefore, all of these Shastras, like Ramayana, are speaking about the stories of love. Therefore, these have to be understood in the right context. And that's what we are trying to do by explaining what Srila Prabhupada is expressing in his purports. That love means where there is every reason for a relationship to be broken, still that relationship is not broken. Where in a relationship there is a scarcity, impediment, discomfort and unhappiness, and one is frustrated and one wants to leave it. Says, no, enough. But still one continues. Why? Because he understands that it is my duty to serve and please my beloved. That is called the Swarupagata Sukh, the inherent, latent love which is there within the heart of every one of us, the love of the soul. And that pleasure which is experienced by seeing the pleasure of the Master, that is the only pleasure which is the birthright of every soul. So through the pastime of Hanumanji, we will see what is the epitome of this kind of loving service, where there is no concept or principle of being in inconvenience or being in frustration or depression or distress. One is fully absorbed and enthusiastic simply to serve and serve and serve, inspired to serve. And in return, what is the incentive? The incentive is simply the smile and the embrace of Lord Ram. So therefore, we should note that in this material world today, especially as Kali Yuga is progressing, the emphasis is growing more and more on incentives. I can see a smile on many people's face. We go for a job based on incentive. But basically, it is experienced that incentive kills the inspiration to serve selflessly. And therefore, the whole idea of service inspired by love is it is based on selflessness. One of the most wealthy people, he was visiting this temple many years ago, and he met me and he said that, Prabhu, I have so much money, so much money, so much money, it is like ocean water. But it is salty. It is not satisfying and quenching my thirst. But you have, by chanting Hare Krishna and by being part of this movement, you have access to the real pleasure. And that is like well water, sweet and deep. So therefore, I request you, please give me a few drops of your well water. I said, definitely, no problem. And please, you give me a few drops of your ocean water. And somehow I didn't see him for the next 6 months. I don't know whether there was a connection. But people are so obsessed with incentives. And they feel, if I do not get return on what I am doing, what's the point? The whole world is moving on the platform of selfishness. And people are extremely fearful of even thinking that anyone beyond me has any idea of what is really good for me. I cannot allow anyone else to make a decision on my life. I cannot put my life in the hands of anyone. And therefore, when we read this pastime of Hanumanji, it's really very inspiring to see how Hanumanji was serving fearlessly, inspired only by the desire to see the smile on the Lord's face. And in response, the Lord just profusely blessed him. And the result of that was he was enthusiastic for more service. So that's the difference between incentive and inspired selfless service. That in the material world, in the outside world, in the secular world, when you work for an incentive, you get an incentive. But gradually you lose the inspiration. You get what you work for. You work for an incentive, you will get the incentive. But don't complain later why I am losing the inspiration. If you work selflessly to please, then in due course of time, what is the incentive you receive? You get more service. You get the desire to serve more. So the only reward for service is more service. And that's what Hanumanji is demonstrating here. And this concept is practically alien to people in this world. And this concept is never expressed through any of our education system. I don't think any of you have gone through this kind of a paradigm. That at the end of your 1 month of working in a job, they say, what is the incentive at the end of the month? Double the amount. Double the amount of work. What else? Nothing else. Be satisfied. So when you see Hanumanji, he is standing like this, ready for seva. Not like this, bakshish. Like this, ready to serve. So therefore he says that I just want absorbed service at your lotus feet, my dear Lord, nothing else. So Lord Ram expresses his gratitude and he says, Ekaika upakarasya pranandasyami he kape sheshasya iha upakaranam bhavanno rinino vayam. Lord Ramachandra is preparing to go. And as he is preparing to leave, he says to Hanumanji that for each and every activity which you have performed for me, ekaika upakarasya pranan dasyami, I am willing to give up my life for you. For each and every service you have done, I am willing to give up my life for you. And sheshasya iha upakaranam. And what to speak of all other activities and services which you are going to perform for the rest of eternity. Bhavanno rini no vayam. I will become completely indebted, overwhelmed by debt for all that seva. And I have no way of repaying that. And that's the feeling of the Lord. The Supreme Lord experiences this kind of feeling towards his servant, Hanumanji. So the whole idea is we are all looking for satisfaction, joy, happiness. Yes or no? How many of you are looking for happiness, satisfaction, joy? Yes. But when we go out in the market, we go out looking for money, sex, sense gratification, and start equating those things with joy and satisfaction. That's the propaganda of this world. That's the advertisement of this world. And that's what the youth in India is convinced about more and more today. And they are trying to imitate the West. But you'll realize that in due course of time, it doesn't have any reality. Ultimately, we have to come back to the basics. That simply by satisfying Krishna and by engaging in his devotional service, we experience real joy and real satisfaction. And that's the difference between the education system, which you're learning outside, and the education system you're connected here. Because your colleges where you're studying is training you to be the best engineer, best doctor, best MBA, best accountant, everything best. And ISKCON is trying to help you become the best of all satisfied souls. And that's where we are coming in. And that's the difference between success and happiness. Success means to get what you like, and happiness means to like what you get. And ISKCON is trying to help you become happy. So this is a very important principle here to understand that if we are dedicating our lives simply for the sake of seva, for service, we will experience the deepest level of joy and satisfaction. And practically everyone intuitively knows that there has to be something in this process. Otherwise, how can someone get connected? There have been people who came up to me and said, "Aap IIT kiya? Haan. छोड़ दिए? हाँ, कुछ प्रॉब्लम था क्या? किसी के साथ कुछ लफड़ा हुआ?" Said नहीं, फिर भी छोड़ दी. So they cannot understand what's going on. One guy was so bewildered, he asked me, "आप IIT किया? ITI किया?" I said, नहीं IIT किया. So the whole idea of education means edukari, to bring out that which is within. And what is within? There is lust, greed, pride, envy, anger. That's also within. And depending on the kind of association you get, that can come out. And there is also love and tendency to serve with purity, with selflessness, with gratitude within. That can also come out. What will make the difference? Association. Therefore, the only single point agenda of ISKCON is to provide the right association so that the deep-rooted tendency to serve and express love towards the Supreme Lord and all His beings come out. Because association creates aspiration. And so it's very important for us to get inspired by the right association, because in Kali Yuga, it is practically impossible to do anything on your own. You try to do anything on your own, very difficult. You just connect with the right person and you will go at their speed. Like in India, many times, at least, I have not seen much in Bombay, but smaller towns, people are on cycle and they hold a tractor from the backside. You have seen? You may have done also. I won't recommend that as the most safest mode of transport. But when you latch on to the trailer of a tractor, that becomes your speed. So therefore, it's important to understand that association creates aspiration. And when we are not having the right association, we cannot get the right aspiration. And therefore, association of devotees creates aspiration to serve and please Krishna while chanting His holy names. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Krishna Krishna! Hare Hare! Hare Ram! Ram Ram! Hare Hare! So Hanumanji's birth is connected to that of Lord Ramachandra's birth, in the sense that a portion of the sweet rice through which Ram and his brothers were born, that was carried by Vayudev. And that particular sweet rice was carried and taken by Hanumanji's mother, whose name was Anjana. And she was impregnated by her husband, whose name was Keshari. And through that, Hanumanji was born as the son of Keshari, but also as an expansion of Vayudev. As soon as Hanumanji was born, he was so powerful from the time he was born. Immediately after his birth, he started asking his mother for some food. His mother said, "You are just born. Relax." He said, "I am feeling hungry." And she was not prepared. So Hanumanji looked towards the sky and he saw the sun rising, the red sun. And Hanumanji looked towards that and he thought, it looks like a big red fruit which I can eat. So Hanumanji jumped towards the sun and he was moving at tremendous speed towards Suryadev. So Suryadev saw somebody is coming. Initially he thought, okay, so many birds fly. What is the problem? But then Suryadev saw the intensity on the eyes of Hanumanji as he was glancing towards Suryadev. And as you know that the eyes reveal a lot of emotion. And by seeing Hanumanji's eyes, Suryadev realized that this is Mahaprasade Govinde. That Hanumanji is gunning for me. He got scared. Because generally, these things never happen. No one dares to challenge Suryadev. So Suryadev immediately called for his comrade, Indradev. Because even amongst demigods there is union, you know. When you need protection, you call out. So Indradev immediately came on his Airavat with his Vajra, and as soon as he came, Hanumanji saw this white elephant Airavat on which Indra was sitting. Hanumanji was going towards the reddish complexioned Surya. He turned around and he saw this white complexioned elephant and he thought, this white fruit is better. And he started going towards Airavat. And Airavat got bewildered. And he started shouting and screaming. And Indra realized that I have to do something. So Indra had his Vajra, thunderbolt. He threw his Vajra. It hit Hanumanji right here on his chin. And he fell down unconscious. His father Keshari was mad. Vayudev was totally upset. And Vayudev in retaliation stopped the air circulation of the entire creation. And everyone was forced to do only Anulom. It was by the power of Vayudev. They didn't know what to do. They all approached Vayudev and started begging, please release the air, please release the air. He said, nothing doing. And they came up to Vayudev and said, okay, we all promised to give all of our powers to your son Hanumanji. And Brahmaji offered prayers. Indra offered prayers. All of the demigods offered unlimited benedictions for Hanumanji. When he was totally convinced that yes, my son is going to be protected and blessed, at that moment, he was really, really convinced and decided to bring Hanumanji back to life. Indra brought Hanumanji back to life and Vayudev released all of that air, and Brahmaji was extremely pleased that this matter has been resolved. It created a big trouble in the whole creation. As soon as Hanumanji was, revived, because he had been blessed with so many powers and he was young, he didn't even know the extent of his powers, and he started playing around with the sages in the forest. He would go and pull on their beard. He would playfully catch hold of a tree and pluck it up, throw it here and there. Hanumanji would, actually start wrestling with all big elephants. He had such power that nobody could imagine how to control him. He would come right in the middle of yagyas and suddenly disturb it, stop it, not allow the yagya to happen. And none of the sages knew how to deal with it. It is described that even Narad Muni came. And Narad Muni heard about Hanumanji singing. So he requested Hanumanji to sing. So Hanumanji started singing. And as Hanumanji was singing, Narad Muni kept his veena on a rock and was listening with his eyes closed. And the singing was so enchanting that it melted the rock. and Narad Muni's Veena started floating in the rock. The rock became liquid. And then Hanumanji suddenly stopped. And when he stopped the singing, the rock became solid, but the Veena got stuck. So Narad Muni is trying to pull out the Veena, not coming out. He's telling Hanumanji, sing again. Release my Veena. Hanumanji said, I am not going to sing. That is Mahaprasad for me now. Narad Muni started chasing Hanumanji. Hanumanji started running around in his whole ashram. And then finally, his whole idea was to get the dust of the lotus feet of Narad Muni in his whole ashram. When that was done, he sang again, release the Veena. And Narad Muni was very happy. But he was concerned that this person is becoming too powerful and difficult to control for anyone. So it is described that all of these sages came together and they requested Hanumanji's father, Keshari, because previously they had done without consulting Keshari and Vayudev and they had a universal crisis. They didn't want to repeat that. They said, let us do one thing. Let all of those powers of Hanumanji be as it is, but we'll just make sure that he forgets them. And when the right time comes, he will be reminded of those powers. It's a deal. He said, okay, fine, agreed. So they all made Hanumanji forget his powers. And Hanumanji just forgot everything, totally. So the question remains that Hanumanji is so powerful that he actually should have been the king of the monkeys. People should have this question in their mind that usually the most qualified and the most powerful must lead. So comparison to Sugriva, Hanumanji was so powerful, there is no comparison. But still Sugriva was the king of the monkeys. And Hanumanji spent his whole life serving Sugriva, which in the material world appears to be a little puzzling. That how is it possible? Or why was it arranged like this? Or why was Hanumanji always serving Sugriva? If Hanumanji with the tap of one gada poof, hit like that, Sugriva would go flying to another universe. So many times people think that Hanumanji's power is in his muscles. And it is very common in India, if you go to the gyms, you will find Hanumanji's photo. Some even have a DT, right, of Hanumanji. And people are coming into the gym to build body. And you ask them why you are building body, to attract the opposite sex. And taking blessings of Hanumanji, Akhand Brahmachari. It is such a contradiction. So it is a very gross understanding of Hanumanji's power. Because his real power is his humility, his loyalty, and his service attitude. His willingness to submit to Sugriva. And the reason for that is described that there was one great sage whose name was Ugratapas. Ugratapas means who would perform very powerful tapasya. Ugra. That was his pleasure in life. Ugratapas. Right? You tell him, do you want to drink? He'll say, yeah, once in a year. Want to eat something? No, nothing. Only air. That was like his favorite food. Ugratapas. So he had a wife whose name was Narayani. And sage Ugratapas would be carried by his wife Narayani many times to different places on a basket. And as Narayani was carrying Ugratapas on a basket, by mistake, accidentally, Ugratapas' feet hit the head of a sage who was meditating nearby, and his name was Sage Kushmanda. So Sage Kushmanda became very angry. And he looked at Narayani and cursed that because your husband's feet has touched me and I'm insulted, I give him a curse that when the sun rises tomorrow, he will die. So Narayani looked at Kushumanda and said, I am a chaste woman. I am a chaste wife. I am trying to serve my husband loyally. By mistake, his feet touches you and you pronounce the death sentence? It's not proper. I don't agree with this. Well, your pronouncement and your curse is when the sun rises, my son will die. My husband will die. So my response to that is, if I have been a chaste lady all my life, may the sun not rise tomorrow. I mean, there was an age where these kind of curses worked also. By hearing this story, some of you may try it, thinking that, oh, probably this is also a new pattern. But nothing will work. Previously, they could just take out their hair, put it on the ground, pronounce something, and many things would happen. Now we only add to the waste. So the power is gone. So she made this pronouncement. I curse that the sun will not rise tomorrow morning. And so Suradev, he travels on his chariot. And the chariot wheels of Suradev never stop. And there are no leaves, for Suradev. We take Sunday off. But doesn't mean on Sunday he sleeps. So Suradev has his charioteer whose name is Arunas. So Arunas finds that suddenly the wheels have stopped. And looks at Suradev and says, my dear Lord, what's going on? For the first time I'm experiencing that the wheels of the chariot are not moving. And Suradev says, well, Arunas, I must tell you, there has been some problem on the planet. There has been a feud between two people, and there is a fight going on, and we are somehow involved in that fight. And Arunas said, but my dear Lord, we were not part of the controversy at all. I don't even know who these two people are. And Suradev says, that is life, my dear. Two people have a fight, I have nothing to do with it. But somehow, I find that I am part of it. That's life. So Suradev was an experienced person, he was a powerful demigod. So he knew that, nothing could be done till the curse is resolved. So he was willing to wait. So Arunas, he looked at Surya and he was an opportunist. So he said, oh, I have never got a leave in my life. Looks like there is going to be some time where this chariot is not going to move. Can I take a casual leave? So Suradev said, well, I don't even know how long this will take, but make sure you come back soon. So Arunas jumped out and immediately went. Where? Indraloka. Club. After working hard, what people are looking for? Club and pub. So he went there and he thought, how will I enter? So the best way to enter is to take the form of an Apsara. So he converted himself and became a beautiful Apsara and stood there at the entrance. And as he entered, no one stopped because, Apsaras are always allowed in Indraloka. So he was standing behind a pillar watching Indra see all the various dances going on and the music going on and this and that. And suddenly Indra's eyes fell on Arunas. And Indra said, I have never seen such a beauty before. She is not a local Apsara. She is from somewhere else. I have not experienced this. And then Indra started coming towards Arunas. And Arunas thought, what is going on? I thought I came to enjoy here. But someone wants to enjoy with me. And Arunas tried to tell Indra, I am not what you are thinking. Indra said, I don't mind, I don't care. And in the form of that lady, he impregnated her. And Arunas came running back to Suradev. And Suradev said, how was your vacation? Arunas said, it was a nightmare. He said, what happened? And he explained, this is what happened. And Suryadev said, I also want to see that form. Please take that form again. And Aruna said, come on, not you. He said, no, you must take that form. And Aruna took that form of that beautiful lady. Surya got inspired. And he impregnated her also. So the son who came out of Suryadev, he was Sugriva. And the son who came out of Indra was Vali. So therefore, these two brothers, they came out during this episode. So now, connecting to Hanumanji. So what is Hanumanji doing? So as Hanumanji is growing older, his father is interested to get him some education. So he sends him to college. Now which college or which professor can teach someone who's as powerful and sharp as Hanumanji? Right? Because Hanumanji is so sharp that before the teacher can complete the sentence, he completes the sentence. So Keshari is wondering, who will teach my son? Then some of the sages said, there is only one person who can match the speed of your son, that is Suryadev. So Keshari sends Hanumanji abroad. Abroad means so far out of this whole place, straight to Suryadev. And Suryadev, by seeing Hanumanji, understands he is so powerful that he will grasp everything faster than me. So Suryadev puts conditions on how the classes will be conducted. He sets out the whole semester system. And he says, Hanumanji, I am going to speak to you all kinds of para and apara vidya. But as I am speaking, my chariot will be moving at full speed. You will be running face towards me and you will be running backwards. And as you are running backwards, you are supposed to memorize everything which I am speaking. And that's the deal of how the education will happen. And Hanumanji was ready. It was not that he had taken bench and table and, pen and pencil and this and that. Hanumanji said, yes, please speak. And as Suryadev was moving, Hanumanji was running backwards and still memorized everything. And within a short duration of time, he became a master of all the Vidya. That is called Shruti Dhar. Once he hears, he remembers it for life. Anyone here in that category? Many people feel proud of Kali Yuga. Arey, we have so much computer technology, so much of memory space, so many gigabytes, terabytes, this byte, that byte, right? And I have my files in so many memories. I have stored all my files very safely and I forget the password. That's Kali Yuga progress. But Hanumanji just moved around, remembered everything. So then Sugriva, Suryadev, he says, as a bona fide disciple, it is your duty to offer Guru Dakshina. He says, yes, Gurudev, what Guru Dakshina I should offer? Suryadev says, I am very worried about my son. I have got a son whose name is Sugriva. I am not very confident how he is going to survive in the future rivalry with his brother Vali, because Vali is very powerful. Sugriva is not very powerful, but thinks he is powerful. That is a bigger problem. So I request you to serve him and protect him. If you can do that, I'll be extremely grateful, and that will be your Guru Dakshina. So Hanumanji agrees. And therefore, because of the word which he has given to his Guru, Suryadev, he spends his entire life as a humble, menial, subordinate, submissive servant to Sugriva. All through Sugriva's ups and downs, his glorious feats and all kinds of escapades and deviations, Hanumanji does not leave Sugriva's service. Therefore, when we speak about Hanumanji's power, People are always talking about Hanumanji's physical feats, but they fail to recognize it is most difficult for powerful people to submit to those who are not powerful. But they can only do that when they are inspired by a powerful sense of culture. And that's the main power of Hanumanji. He is the supreme personality of culture. So here we find that Hanumanji's Guru Dakshina was based on a sense of gratitude for what he received from his Guru, Suryadev. So then in the Ramayana, the pastime begins when Hanumanji and Sugriva, they meet Lord Ram. You know about that famous pastime. Hanumanji and Sugriva, when they meet Lord Ram, it is the time where for the first time the Lord is coming in contact with Hanumanji. And at that point it is described that Lakshman approaches Hanumanji and he says, Sarvalokasya dharmatma sharanyam sharanam pura guror me raghavo soyam sugrivam sharanam gata. He says, my dear Hanumanji, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram, who is the supreme personification of dharma or religion, he aspires to take shelter of Sugriva. Guror me raghavo soyam sugrivam sharanam gata. He is desiring to take shelter of Sugriva. So naturally the question arises, why should the Supreme Lord Ram take shelter of Sugriva? So that's a very important point to understand. So Sugriva basically means beautiful throat. And the throat is the source of sound vibration. And sound vibration flows in 4 directions: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikhari. What manifests and what you are hearing is what is called Vaikhari. So before that Para, the sound begins in your Nabhisthal. From the Nabhisthal, Para, it comes to the chest, Pashyanti. Then it comes here, near the throat, it becomes Madhyama. And then when you are hearing what you are hearing, that is called Vaikhari. And that sound is carried through air. So Vayu becomes the carrier of sound. And that sound only makes sense, that Shabda only makes sense when there is Artha. So therefore, Sugriva is the personification of Shabda, and Hanumanji, who is the Surya Putra, Vayu Putra, he is the personification of Artha. So therefore, it has to be understood that the sound only becomes useful when you hear it. When the Artha is heard by you. Are you hearing or not? So if I try to communicate without speaking, and I say I'm going to now give a lecture on the power of selfless service, and I keep quiet, you know what did I say? What did I say? What did I say? Guess. What did I say? Again. I said, Hari Bol. This is the language the deaf people use for communicating. Right? That is their sign language. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So they have their way. Why? Because they have not been given the privilege of being able to express Vaikhari, the sound which can be heard. It's a privilege. So therefore, Hanumanji represents that. And so Sugriva and Hanumanji together, They are assisting Lord Ram's mission. And what is Lord Ram's mission? To inspire the conditioned souls to come back to him. So the entire Ramayana is orchestrated in a way to demonstrate that when the jiva, represented by Sita, is distracted by other desires other than service, she is completely captured and captivated by the personification of mind, Ravana, with 5 karmendriyas and 5 gyanendriyas with 10 heads, who takes the jiva and puts the jiva captive in the body of Lanka in the midst of the ocean of samsara. And when that jiva is pining in separation from the Supreme Lord Ram, Ram himself is helpless to go and save that soul and bring the soul back, because even the Ram doesn't know, is not fully convinced whether the soul wants to come back or not. In that situation, Ram is totally and utterly dependent on the agents of sound vibration. And the agents of sound vibration are the Vaishnavas. And they are the Shakha Mrigas. The Vanara Sena basically represents the army of the Vaishnavas, because Va-nara means one who looks like human but is not human. Va means there is a question, who are you? Nara means human. So when you look at a monkey, right, the monkey resembles humans or not? When Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, one monkey took away Prabhupada's shoe and went and sat on a tree. The devotee went with a lathi. Prabhupada said, no, this is monkey. You show a lathi, you will not get the shoe back. Prabhupada took a banana, and with the banana, he went and showed to the monkey. The monkey showed the shoe to Prabhupada. Prabhupada brought the banana further close. The shoe was brought further close. And then when Prabhupada took the banana further close, the monkey took the banana and kept the shoe. And Prabhupada said, see, he knows how to negotiate. Again this happened one more time. Again it happened few times. Then finally, after a few bananas the monkey got, he started chewing on the shoe, threw it. And that shoe is still kept in a devotee's house in Florida, in memory of this pastime. But the monkey, he behaves exactly like human beings in many ways. So when you look at a monkey, it appears, Nara? Are you human? Va? Nara. There is a question asked, are you a human being? Right? Just like in our yatra, one devotee was buying tarbuj, watermelon. And as he was, buying the tarbuj, and the tarbuj was cut and being presented, suddenly one big, huge monkey jumped right on the thela. And looking at this devotee, the monkey did like this and like this. Just by seeing that image, the devotee just gave him the hafta. Take it, Baba. Take the watermelon. Don't bite me. So many times if you go to Vrindavan, the way the monkeys will attack you, you will be bewildered. How intelligent they are. So therefore they are called Va-nara, because they're intelligent. Their intelligence and their activities closely resemble human beings, but they are not humans. So therefore, it is described that those who are great souls, they appear to be in human body, but they are actually divine. Sakshat dharitvena samasta shastrair uktas tathava vyata eva shadbhi kintu prabhoryar priya eva tasya. So when you look at great personalities, the great Vaishnavas, they appear to be in human society. They act like humans, they speak like humans, they are behaving and dealing. They are humans. But are they? Are they Nara? Va-nara. They appear human, but they are divine. And therefore, the Vanara Sena represents the army of divine souls with a divine mission of retrieving all of the conditioned souls from this material world back to the spiritual world at the lotus feet of Lord Ram. So therefore, this is a very important principle to understand that we are part of this divine mission. And Lord Ram is very much totally dependent on this army. And the Lord has given full powers to the Vaishnavas. You be the deliverer of this message. You give this message. And you get all of these conditioned souls to be inspired to take shelter of my lotus feet and chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, the Lord is just standing there, begging, pleading, crying, requesting the souls. I am waiting for you. Come back to me. And that's the whole message of Ramayana. There was this pujari in Los Angeles, and he did puja for a few years. But then his mind started getting distracted, and he thought, I had done enough puja. I must leave the temple now and go back. And I'm missing surfing on the ocean. I really want to do surfing. So he went to the ocean, took a surfboard, started surfing. The day he started surfing, that same day he saw a shark coming from a distance. The shark looked at him. It's coming closer. He also saw the shark. He realized. And he started thinking that before I joined the temple, I have done surfing so many years. Shark never came. First day after leaving Seva and leaving the temple, when I am doing surfing, shark has come. Is there any connection? Of course. Krishna has personally sent his messenger to give inspiration. So as soon as he saw the shark, he started chanting Narsingarti. He had spent time in the temple for a few years. He knew in emergency which buttons to press. Pressing Namaste Narsingaya Pralad Alad Daine. Narsingarti over, he looked. Shark is still coming. He started chanting whatever shlokas from Bhagavad Gita, Mangal Arti, this Arti, that Arti. Whatever stock he had, he finished. Still the shark was coming. He realized, I am finished today. That's the end of my human form of life. So he started praying to the Lord, my dear Lord, I made a major mistake, blunder by giving up your service. Please forgive me for what I have done. But I beg you, today, one last chance. Just allow me to leave from here. If you leave me alive from this shark, from here straight I am going to temple. Straight I am going to the temple. Please. So his prayer was really genuine. And the shark came very close, looked at him, and decided to continue fasting. And he just went. And this devotee came running back to the temple. And the pujari, the temple president asked, where were you? He said, I was here only. No, I didn't see you. Where had you gone? He says, wherever I had gone, I will never go again. So the Ramayana describes Sita was with Ram. But although she was with Ram, she saw the golden deer. And by seeing the golden deer, she felt, maybe this is a more attractive proposal than serving Ram. Or she thought, along with serving Ram, this also will be very good. Right? Many times people, one boy, college boy was telling me, मेरे महाजन तो अजामिल है. I said, right? कमाल है, अजामिल. He is my hero. मैं बोला क्यों? मजा भी किया, भगवत धाम भी गया. So that is a secret desire. Can both be done? It's okay, that's fine. So one may think that, okay, let me serve also and engage in some sense gratification. What's the problem? Why you are so fanatic? And many times people feel fearful of ISKCON temples. And they feel as soon as you enter into these premises, they'll start, no, 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 no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, no tambaku, no bidi, no pan parag, no chai, no coffee, no kanda, no lasun. यार खतरनाक लोग हैं. So therefore, there is a reason why all of these things are added on. If you have to experience the real joy, real pleasure in serving the Supreme Lord, that pure pleasure is only available when we control ourselves and free ourselves from the influence of Rajogun and Tamogun. And therefore, having been trapped by this desire to enjoy sense gratification independent of the Supreme Lord, we are not in a mood to look towards the Lord in His direction. And the only way we will turn our faces towards Him is when the devotees come. And the devotees come with the divine message of Lord, that my dear conditioned soul, which direction are you looking? Please come. The Lord is waiting for you. And so Hanumanji represents that messenger of the Supreme Lord. And therefore the Vaishnavas who come and preach to you and give you Krishna consciousness, they are actually the messengers, the authentic messengers on behalf of the Lord. Their duty is to share with you that how the Lord is suffering hundreds and millions of times more than you are suffering in separation from you. Therefore, do not think that you can have unlimited pleasure in this material world. It's impossible. Please come. Get out of Lanka and come in the divine association of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, this principle is represented by Sugriva and Hanumanji. So once they create this friendship, Sugriva promises Lord Ram that I will support you. And Lord Ram helps him by killing Vali, his brother. And then for the 4 months of the rainy season, Sugriva is stationed at a place called Prashravana. Lord Ram is placed at Prashravana while Sugriva is enjoying at Kishkinda with Vali's wife, with his own wife. And he forgets his duty. Lord Ram is becoming more and more impatient. Lord Ram turns towards Lakshman and says, Sita has been kidnapped. I am in deep separation from my consort. There is no sign of Sugriva. Lakshman, you must go and report to Sugriva and warn him. Nacha sankuchita pantha yena vali hato gata samaye tishta Sugriva ma vali hatamanvagaha. Go and inform Sugriva that, my dear Sugriva, the path through which Vali has been sent to the kingdom of death, that pathway, that highway is still open. Do you want to go by that path? So Lakshman becomes very inspired. And he says, my dear Lord, I will not only go and give him the message, I will kill him also. For the negligence of duty of this degree, he needs to be killed. Lord Ram says, no, Lakshman, cool down. Don't kill him. Just give him this message. Warn him, shake him up. Because he has become neglectful, offensive, and inattentive in his seva. N-O-I. Neglectful, offensive, inattentive practice of devotional service. So Lakshman goes and gives him a warning. And as soon as Lakshman arrives there, all the monkey soldiers become very fearful. And it is Hanumanji who goes inside Sugriva's inner chambers. And he consults Sugriva, advises Sugriva. And he says, Krita paradhasya hite nanyat pashyamaham kshamam antarena anjalim badhva Lakshmanasya prasadanat. My dear Sugriva, I do not see any other hope for you except folding your hands in front of Lakshman. Accept your mistake. Accept your mistake and please beg forgiveness. You will again get your seva back. And that's what Sugriva does. When he goes to Lord Ram embraces him tightly and says, my dear Sugriva, why were you so neglectful? You made a promise to me that you will serve and assist me in my mission, and suddenly you have forgotten that. I was in so much of distress. This is the distress the Lord feels when a person who promises devotional service and assistance in his mission neglects his duty. Why? Because although he is the supreme, all-powerful controller of all the creation and all the 14 planetary systems and the master of the 33 crore demigods, when it comes to retrieving and saving a conditioned soul in this world, the Lord has already outsourced that contract to the Vaishnavas, that only you are authorized to go and deliver these souls. And I will simply stand as a spectator on the sides to provide any assistance you need. And I will only respond when the jivas respond to your message. That's the power of the messengers of the Lord. And therefore we must deal with them very carefully. They are confidential executors of the Lord's most confidential mission of getting the souls back. So therefore, at this point, Sugriva offers his prayers of forgiveness at the lotus feet of Lord Ram. Lord Ram says, I agree that whatever you did was a mistake. I forgive you. But now, get into action. Get all of your monkey soldiers together. We have a mission to perform. And Sugriva immediately starts ordering for monkey soldiers to come from all directions. Millions and millions and millions of monkey soldiers come from all directions. Various kinds of monkeys, big and small, and bears of various shapes, sizes, they all start manifesting. And all come from all directions. And Sugriva looks at them and starts shouting at them that all of us have a mission to perform. Lord Ram has lost his consort Sita Devi. I will send out search parties in 4 directions. All of you will go in all these 4 directions and get the message about Sita. And then Sugriva starts explaining about which direction which party should go, and he gives details about all the mountains, rivers, caves, various things in each one of those locations. Where to turn right, where to turn left, do this, do that. It's like Google Map. And Ram is hearing that Sugriva is practically thorough with the entire geography of the entire creation of the 14 planetary systems. He knows everything so perfectly. And Ram interrupts Sugriva. And after all the monkey soldiers have been given their assignments, Ram cannot stop his curiosity. He looks at Sugriva and says, how come you became such a master of global geography? How is it possible you know all of these things so much? Sugriva said, when Vali was chasing me all over the universe, I was looking for a place where I can hide, where Vali cannot attack me. So I have noted everything in the creation minutely, and I memorized it. So many times, one may be going through a difficult situation in life, but please know that difficult situation may help you in future seva. Always, you should have that optimism that I am going through this situation, but it may be of some benefit in future, some seva, Krishna may use this. So when Vali was chasing Sugriva, he didn't know that it will be helpful, but now it was very useful. Just like, in Moscow, a thief entered a house in the middle of the night. tried to search for anything, but he couldn't get hold of anything. It was a devotee's house. Only for, Aarti plate and this and that, and, and for cash he tried to search here and there. So he was thinking like, this fellow is poorer than me. He felt inspired to donate something and go. But on the way out, he thought that, as per my record, I never leave empty-handed. Everyone has their particular ego. So this thief had his ego. Khali haath nahi jaunga. So something was lying on a table. He put his hand, picked it up and went home. And he saw there was the photo of a warrior on a chariot and someone as a charioteer. And it was the cover page of Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So it was Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he saw that. And when he saw Arjuna with the bow and arrow and everything, he thought, looks like fighting techniques are taught in this. Let me read it so that it will help me in my activity as a thief, in my stealing. So he started reading. And as he started reading, what impressed him was that he thought he was a thief. By reading the Gita, he realized everyone is a thief. Everyone is stealing the Lord's property, claiming Lord's property to be their own. He started changing, transforming. He was chanting. Previously, he used to go out 7 nights a week. He started going out 3 nights a week. His wife got worried. Duty pe nahi ja rahe. What's going on? Then he expressed that there are some changes I am going through. So his wife also got inspired. She also became a devotee. Both husband and wife became devotee. Wife's father was the head of all the gangs in Moscow. He was like the gang leader. He called the son-in-law and said, "Arey, hamara naam mitti mein mila rahe aap." This is not good. But then this person became so inspired that finally he went to the temple. And when he went to the temple, the devotees asked, "What do you do?" So how could he explain? Then finally he said that now I have given up all of these things. I don't want to now follow and pursue this profession. So the devotee said, "Oh, instead you distribute Prabhupada's books." So he became a book distributor. But as a book distributor, he had experience of seeing houses from outside and analyzing how much these people will have inside. So he used that experience. So some place only Gita he would give, other place he would give full Bhagavatam set. And even the devotees were very inspired to see that, how he is using some of his experiences in the Lord's service. So Sugriva was using his full experience. So as, all of these different parties became ready to go in all directions, Hanumanji, he started seeing Ramchandra greatly disturbed. And Ramchandra having, great anxiety in his heart and crying. And Hanumanji was thinking, great souls are supposed to be equipoised. This is not the behavior of great souls. ठीक है, wife has been kidnapped, fine. But does it mean you cry like this? Why is he doing like this? And Ramchandra also could understand, being the Paramatma in everyone's heart, that Hanumanji is getting a doubt in his mind about why I am crying in separation from Sita like this. And Hanumanji has got a doubt. And Ramchandra understands that Hanumanji can't understand because he is a brahmachari. वो क्या समझेगा? So Hanumanji was having this doubt, and Ramchandraji knew the only way it can be solved is if Hanumanji himself goes through the experience of searching and then finding Sita. So therefore, Ramchandraji called Hanuman and gave him the ring. Dadahatasya tatah prita swanam anko bhashobhitam. He gave his own ring to Hanumanji. Swanam anko bhashobhitam. And Angulyam Abhijananam Rajaputriya Parantapa. And he told Hanumanji, when you meet Sita Devi, when you meet Janki ji, please give her this ring. I empower you to be my personal messenger. Therefore, we have no power to convey the message of the Lord till we are personally blessed by the Lord and his representatives. So Hanumanji had these doubts. He was not fully convinced about the mission. He knew he has to serve, but still he was wondering why Ramchandra is behaving in the way he is. But Lord Ramachandra empowered him with the ring and said, whatever faith you have, use it in this service, and wherever there is a shortfall in faith, it will be made up when you complete the service. So do not wait for the faith to be 100% before beginning the service. The process is, with some faith, begin. And in due course of time, the experience will create realization, which will complete that faith. And therefore, Hanumanji, he actually begins along with Jambavan, Angada, Dvivida, Mainda, and this party was personally empowered by Ramchandra. And this was the southern search party. And as they came to the cave of Swayam Prabha, it was already quite a few days, and there was no trace of which way to go. They were losing hope. They were losing hope, they were losing direction, and they started discussing with each other. And they started saying to each other, oh, this is a beautiful cave where a lot of sense gratification seems to be available, all kinds of good food, nice drinks and everything. Let's settle down here only. Other monkey soldier was saying, if we go back, what report we will give? That we have failed? Better not go back. Let's stay here. And Angada, he started expressing, this Sugriva himself sense gratifier. Himself he forgot the Lord's mission and he was enjoying with his wife for 4 months, forgetting that he has to serve Lord. Now he is sending us on a mission. How dare he? We should discuss this. This matter must be discussed. How can he do like that? So he started fault finding. And then on top of that he said, some of the other monkeys started saying, why have we been engaged in solving someone else's domestic matters? किसी का पति का पत्नी के साथ कुछ हुआ तो उसमें हम ढूंढने क्यों चले? So when one does not experience success in one's mission, all kinds of doubts start flooding. And therefore, these are some of the obstacles in service while achieving the mission or the goal. One is laziness. Second is selfishness. Third is blaming the authority. And fourth is depression. One thinks this will never work, this will never function. So therefore, here we find that Hanumanji, he was hearing all of these various things being spoken by different people, and he realized they need help. They have doubts. Right? When you have doubts, you really cannot function properly. Right? You need to overcome doubts with conviction and intelligence. And therefore, intelligence has 8 attributes, and that's what Hanumanji, he actually demonstrated. First attribute is an inclination to hear. And second attribute is the capacity to hear. Third is the ability to comprehend. You may hear, you may understand, but if you can't comprehend what's going on, what's the point? Right? Many times we say, oh, I ask people, how was the lecture? हाँ, बहुत बढ़िया था. क्या अच्छा लगा? नहीं, सब अच्छा लगा. कुछ याद है? नहीं, सभी बढ़िया था. क्या याद, क्या करना है? अरे कुछ तो बोलो. नहीं, सब अंदर गया. इतना अंदर गया कुछ बाहर ही नहीं आ रहा है. When I was in IIT, we had a professor. He would keep writing on the board, and when he would get stuck, he would take out a cigarette from his pocket. And he would put the cigarette on his mouth, he would search for light, and the boy sitting in the first row, he would give him the light. Hello. Guru Seva. So what is the message? Oh, if you're not able to comprehend, you get stuck, smoking helps. That's the kind of culture being transmitted. So if you hear, but you don't comprehend, then definitely you cannot grasp the subject. So apart from that, you need good memory and a capacity to reason. And you need deep insight into the meaning. And to cap it all, there has to be true wisdom. So therefore, Hanumanji is glorifying Angada and is saying, I can see, Angada, that you are having all of these attributes of good intelligence. So Angada also becomes a little bewildered. Right? I never knew that. Because he was feeling frustrated and expressing so many things. And then Hanumanji inspired them that we have a mission to fulfill. Although we are getting delayed in fulfillment of our mission, it is foolishness to get waylaid and get distracted and forget the mission. Let's continue on with determination. Why? Because the nature of the mind is, M stands for magnifying the problem. What is the nature of the mind? It will magnify the problem. I stands for, it will imagine a pleasure. The mind will imagine a pleasure while at the same time magnifying a problem. N stands for, it neglects the mercy which is available right now. And D stands for, it denies reality. And in this situation, one totally gets bewildered. And that's the time when we need strong association. So Hanumanji put his foot down, looked at all of these other monkey soldiers and said, we cannot give up this mission. We have to continue. And when that kind of conviction is there, it helps overcome all negativity. Just like when the monkey soldiers, they saw Ram and Lakshman doing Ekadashi. So they said, we will also do. And Ram Lakshman said, no need for you. No, we will do. So Ekadashi means that time you would not eat anything. So the monkeys all went on top of the trees and sat. So one of the monkeys started feeling hungry. So he plucked a fruit. Because tendency was there, morning, certain time, you have to do that activity. So he plucked the fruit. Somebody said, hey, Ekadashi. He kept it in his hand. He said, because at the end of Ekadashi, on Dwadashi, I will be so weak that I will not be able to pluck the fruit also. आज के लिए नहीं, कल के लिए. भविष्य का सोचना है ना. मतलब इतना वीकनेस आ जाएगा, फ्रूट नहीं टूटेगा, तोड़ के रख लेते हैं. No harm, keep it. So one more monkey soldier said, I am feeling that because of dehydration and weakness, even your hand may not be able to move till the mouth. Better place it in the mouth. I said, good point. हो सकता है. So he placed that fruit in his mouth. Third monkey gave a suggestion. I feel that when you don't have any proper nutrition, even the mouth will stop functioning. You won't be able to chew. Why don't you chew? चबा के कोने में रखो, काम आएगा. So he did that. So the another monkey said, इतना कर ले, खा ही जाओ और क्या. So that's called imagining situations and getting worried. So therefore, There is Chita and there is Chinta. So Chita only burns a dead person after death once. But Chinta burns a person moment after moment for his whole life. So if you have to protect yourself from Chinta, you have to do Chintan. So that's important. So Hanumanji really convinced all of these monkey soldiers to move on. And in this way, we can see the difference between service and service attitude is service is you are simply moving the hands and the legs. They were engaged in service, but Sugriva was blaming, our Angada was blaming, screaming, finding fault. Service was going on, but not service attitude. Service attitude is when we perform service with gratitude. And that's what Hanumanji explained to all of them. That do not think, I am acting and I am serving, that is something great. But I must act in a way to please the great. So when there is service attitude, the servant thinks, I am insignificant and the master is great. And when there is service performed without service attitude, the servant thinks, I am so great and the master is so fortunate to have me as a servant. All glories to me. So therefore, this results in total defeat and disturbance. So at this point, we can see that this particular situation where Hanumanji manages to convince all of the team members to reach the ocean shore, and that is the point where they meet the great personality Sampati. So Sampati is a giant eagle bird and he's been waiting for 8,000 years because he was told that at due course of time, when the right time comes, you will be instrumental in performing this seva of offering direction to the Lord's devotees, to reveal the direction of where Sita would be. And he has been waiting for 8,000 years. That's called seva. The privilege of seva. So Sampati has been waiting and waiting and waiting, utsaha nishchayat dhairyat, with great patience, just so that he will get the opportunity to serve the Lord's devotees after 8,000 years. And many times we may think that service is a burden. But service is not a burden, service is a privilege. And when we understand that it's a privilege, we approach the opportunity to serve as a privilege. And every opportunity counts. Right? Just like when I joined the ashram in 1994 here at Chopati. So just after I joined, there was one more gentleman who joined, who was from a village in somewhere in Maharashtra. And he was like very huge, powerful person. And I was told that you must engage devotees in seva. So I engaged him in the kitchen with me. And he came up to me after 2 days and he says, I am a powerful preacher of Hinduism. And I joined ISKCON to preach Hinduism. हिंदू धर्म का प्रचार करने. और आप क्या किए हो? रोटी बेलने में लगा दिए. Is this why I joined ISKCON? To make roti? मेरा काम धंधा नहीं है दूसरा. I said, अरे बाबा, this is seva. And when we do this, we get purified. This is part of our progress in Krishna consciousness. 1 week, 2 weeks, he tried his best. And after that, he left, saying, I did not join here to make chapati and roti. I have come here to preach Krishna consciousness, to preach Sanatan Dharma. I met him after 12 years. He came up to me and he said, now I'm married, I'm settled down, I'm having a family. And I said, how's your preaching of Sanatan Dharma? He said, yeah. He said, that is also going on, but I must confess one thing to you. I said, what? He said, just some time after marriage, my wife got back pain. And she could not go in kitchen much. And from that day, I am only making chapati every day at home. And he said, I really regret that I had got that opportunity to serve that time. But I was blaspheming and thinking, what is going on? But actually, I think I should have accepted that opportunity. So many times the opportunity comes. The opportunity knocks on the door, as they say. But when the opportunity knocks on the door, we complain of the noise. So therefore, when Sampati gives the direction to all the monkey soldiers, immediately they come there and they see the ocean. And the ocean is 100 yojanas wide. And all the monkeys are discussing who will jump. And they are all discussing how much can you jump. One of them says 10, another says 20, someone says 30, 40, 50. Angada says, I can jump 100 yojanas, but not return journey. Only one-way ticket. So at that point, Jambavan realizes only one person can do it. And that is Hanumanji. He turns to Hanuman and starts speaking the entire story of Hanumanji right from his birth. Because this was the moment which was required for him to be reminded. And as Hanumanji starts hearing about his power, he immediately remembers his entire power and starts growing in size and reaches till the skies and starts screaming that what to speak of getting Sita Devi, I will uproot Lanka from the entire ocean. Jambavan says, no, only find out about Sita and come back. Don't go beyond the mission. So Hanumanji jumps, and it is described when he jumps, the first obstacle Hanumanji meets is a beautiful golden mountain called Mainak. And Mainak requests Hanumanji, relax, rest, enjoy. Why you are in such a hurry? इतना जब क्यों कर रहे हैं? कहाँ लेके जाना है? I was traveling in a train. I was chanting early in the morning. One guy was sleeping in front of me with kambal. And it was disturbing to him, the japa. So he tried to put kambal over his head, thinking as if kambal can stop. The holy name penetrates universe also. What is a kambal? So finally he got up, looked up, sat down and looked up to me and said, अरे सुबह सुबह अपने कृष्णा को तो सोने दे यार. So many times people feel we are doing too much. You should not go so fast. Relax. Balance your life. Little Krishna, little Maya. So that will be good balance. So Hanumanji was relentless. So therefore, Mainak represents the principle of complacency. So therefore, it is described that complacency is the tendency of postponing our service and activity and thinking. There is no need to be so urgent to do this. So this is a very important point. Don't do bhakti too much. Relax and sit here. Like that. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Ji ki. So what's the way to overcome this complacency? Hanumanji looked at Mainak, thanked Mainak, touched Mainak and continued. So when the offers are made to relax, respect that offer, but do not take it seriously and move on. Right? Why? We have a mission. And when we are attracted to the mission, nothing can stop us. So that's the most important thing. So the obstacle second which came in front of Hanumanji was Surasa. So she was a deadly looking demon and she had her mouth wide open. And she told Hanumanji that I have been given that task and blessings that whoever comes, I will gobble them up. So Hanumanji increased his size. Suras increased her size. Hanumanji increased his size. Suras increased her size. And in this way, competition was going on. Finally, suddenly, Hanumanji decreased his size and became insignificant. Entered into Sura's mouth, came out, and said, I have fulfilled your blessings. Your condition is, someone must enter your mouth. I have entered, I have come out also. Give me blessings to go ahead. Sura said, you have tricked me like anything. So Suras represents the tendency of competing in service. So we have this tendency of trying to prove ourselves greater than others. So Suras represents this tendency for competition and conflict. And the only way this tendency can be overcome is when we believe in humble cooperation. And humble cooperation means trying to make ourselves insignificant. Like that. So therefore, Radhanath Maharaj always makes this point. Bhakti is the science of being defeated. Two devotees were having an argument in Kumbh Mela, Prayag, in the 70s, when Prabhupada was there. One devotee was saying, Tamal Krishna Maharaj came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, there is an argument going on between devotees. Prabhupada said, what? He said, one devotee is saying that the difference between Krishna and Balram is Krishna is black and Balram is white. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's right. He is right. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, but this other devotee, Yamuna Devi, she is saying the difference between Krishna and Balram is only Krishna enjoys with Radharani, not Balram. Prabhupada said, she is right. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj got confused. He said, Prabhupada, both are saying two different things. How can both be right? Prabhupada said, you are right. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, but Prabhupada, what is the right answer? Prabhupada said, you decide. So many times the tendency of this age of Kali is to drag us into some kind of difference of opinion and conflict. And this conflict prevents us from really understanding the essence of Krishna consciousness and tasting the nectar of that seva. So this is a very important principle. Obstacle third, as Hanumanji continued, there was this very powerful Rakshasi, her name was Simhika. And suddenly Hanumanji found that his movement is being stopped. And Hanumanji looked down and saw that his shadow has been caught upon by Simhika and she is dragging Hanumanji down through the shadow. That's the nature of envy. We look for the dark spots in a person's personality and try to bring the person down. How did Hanumanji respond? Hanumanji entered right through the mouth of Simhika into all of her internal organs, went straight to the heart of Simhika and crushed her. And in this way, Hanumanji demonstrates that envy can only be crushed. There is no other solution for envy. It has to be eradicated. And therefore, this is a very big challenge in our devotional service when we are trying to serve. How to overcome this principle of envy is only when we genuinely try to serve those whom we are envious of and start appreciating what they are doing. That's the beginning of overcoming this principle of envy. And then, when Hanumanji reaches Lanka, there is this lady who's the goddess of Lanka. Her name is Lankini. And as Hanumanji meets Lankini, she starts chastising Hanumanji as to, how come you came here? Who allowed you to come here? And Hanumanji is thinking, who is she? And Hanumanji says, I am come on behalf of Lord Ram. And she says, this belongs to Ravana. And Hanumanji says, no, it belongs to Ram. And she tries to stop Hanumanji, and Hanumanji just gives a gentle push. It was not even a full-fledged slap, just a tap. And she went flying. And she said to Hanumanji, That many years ago, Brahmaji had said, the day a monkey comes and slaps you, that day Ravana will be killed. So looks like Ravana is going to be killed very soon. So Lankini represents doubts which are created due to opposition. When we practice Krishna consciousness, there is opposition. When Prabhupada came to London, he was asked, why you have come to London? And Prabhupada said the British came to India and looted so many different types of jewels and diamonds and jewelries and rubies and emerald, but they forgot to steal one most important thing, which is the Bhagavad Gita that I have come to give. So as devotees were walking, one devotee told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, the British Museum. And Prabhupada said, British Museum means stolen property. Right? So therefore, Prabhupada, when he went to preach all across the globe, so much of opposition he faced. You practice Krishna consciousness, you will experience opposition. Because people feel, why this person is doing what he's doing. In my family, there was so much of opposition. And I did a program with all my cousins and all my other friends and family members. And then Govind Prabhu was giving a talk. And he said, anyone who practices Krishna consciousness, 21 generations of his family are liberated. And all my cousins became very blissful. And one cousin came up to me and said, continue your practice. Any problem happens, tell me. But you don't stop. One devotee in Pune, when he was chanting, he got inspired. He told his father, I got an inspiration from within that these shares which we have purchased, we must sell. Because there is going to be some problem. Father said, who told you? Said, I was chanting and I got inspired. Father said, stop chanting. You are getting weird ideas. He says, no, I am convinced. He went to the person who was managing their fund in HSBC and said, please sell these shares. I'm sure something is going to happen wrong. And this man said, I'm an MBA from finance and I don't see anything happening wrong. What's your problem? He says, no, it is my money. I'm telling you, sell these shares. So he sold those shares. In 1 week, the Lehman Brothers collapsed. This was in 2008, 2009. And all over the world, there was a global economic collapse. And this family, because they sold those shares, they saved 10 crores. Father called the son and said, Beta, chant more. And this HSBC fund manager, he called this devotee and said, you have to tell me what is that mantra you are talking about. And he got so inspired, he left HSBC, became a faculty in some MBA college, started chanting. Now he is initiated devotee. So the global economic collapse affected many people, but it also benefited many people. So initially when you begin the process, there will be opposition. And that's what we see in the life of Sri Hanumanji also. That it was not that he entered into Lanka and they had given a red carpet for him. Please come. We are waiting for you. We are going to have kirtan here with you. No. So therefore we find that Hanumanji, his entire life was dedicated to the service of Lord Sri Ram with great devotion, with great sacrifice. And although it was some of the most difficult challenges he faced in crossing the ocean, Hanumanji dealt with each one of those obstacles tactfully, selflessly, fully aware of the fact that he must simply try to preserve the dignity of Lord Ram's mission. So what Hanumanji did in Lanka is a long story, long past time. But suffice to say that he was the person who was empowered by Ram with the ring. And when he saw Sita, immediately his response was, Dushkaram kritavan Ramo hinoyat anaya prabho dharayan atmano deham na shoke na avasidati. Sita looks so beautiful, so fragile, so attractive. I am feeling how Ram could remain alive for so many years in absence of such a powerful and beautiful personality as Sita. I think Ram must be having a stone here. He must be heartless. Otherwise, how can he still be alive? And in this way, whatever doubts Hanumanji had regarding Ram's crying before, those doubts were eradicated. But for that, he had to jump across 100 yojanas and do a lot of seva before those doubts got eradicated. And then finally, Hanumanji gives the ring to Sita Devi. And Sita Devi gets so much of encouragement. And she says to Hanumanji, within 30 days, if Ramchandra doesn't come and save me from this place, I'm going to immolate myself. And Hanumanji responds by saying that first I will immolate Lanka. And Hanumanji burns the entirety of Lanka. And he comes back to Sita Devi. And Sita Devi is so much pleased with him. And Hanumanji says, why don't you jump on my back and I'll take you back? Sita Devi says, that's not the mission of my husband Ram. My husband Ram's mission is to increase our dependence on him. And therefore, for future generations, I want to give this example that when you are in difficulty, increase your dependence on the Supreme Lord by crying out His holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And in this way, Hanumanji jumps back to India from Lanka and then meets Lord Ramachandra and gives him the most auspicious news that Sita is alive and Sita is very much looking for your association, and it is our duty to go and rescue Sita back. So this is the gist of Hanumanji's selfless devotional service in the seva of Lord Ramachandra ji. So on the occasion of Hanuman Jayanti, let us pray at the lotus feet of Hanumanji that he gives us this kind of dedication and devotion to serve and please the Lord and the Lord's devotees, and empower us to bring more and more people. Give this message to more and more people and inspire more and more people to get connected with his lotus feet and his eternal devotional service. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.